Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra, Don Quixote. Embark on a whimsical journey through the fertile imagination of Miguel de Cervantes in Don Quixote, a tome heralded as the first modern novel. The tale centers on the curious adventures of a man named Alonso Quixote, or Quijano, who becomes entranced by chivalric books and transforms into the valiant, yet comically misguided, Don Quixote de la Mancha. Accompanied by his squire, Sancho Panza, Quixote's quests conjure a world of vivid delusions and spirited misadventures, where windmills morph into formidable giants, and everyday inns are reimagined as grand castles. This summary revisits their spectacular exploits, exploring the motivations that drive Quixote's fantastical pursuits and the rich tapestry of themes weaving through the narrative, such as reality versus perception, the nature of nobility, and the potent allure of imagination. Prepare to meet characters who have become symbolic archetypes, and discover how Cervantes' masterpiece deftly balances humor with poignant insights into the human condition.
Quixote's Quest for Chivalry. Imagine a golden expanse of wheat fields beneath an endless blue sky in La Mancha, Spain, with clusters of dazzling white houses dotting the landscape. In this picturesque yet featureless countryside lived Alonso Quixote, or perhaps Quijano, an aging gentleman of modest nobility. His simple lifestyle, made possible by meager incomes from a small estate, was marked not by wealth, but by a fervor for reading about knights and their grand tales. This passion consumed him so deeply that the line between his imagination and reality blurred, leading him to an extraordinary decision, to become a knight-errant. The legend of Don Quixote de la Mancha begins here, where the ordinary transforms into the mythical. In a small village among lime-washed homes, Alonso dedicated his days to reading chivalric romances full of duels, quests, and the buffoonery of exaggerated heroics. As volumes stacked in his mind and on his modest shelves, the noble dust of written adventures settled in his conscience until he believed the stories were not mere tales but echoes of a nobler time, waiting to revive in the present. Determined to bring back this lost era of grandeur, our hidalgo scrubbed an ancient suit of armor, polished it until it shone, despite its moldy beginnings, and crafted a visored helmet from cardboard, only to have it crumble under the swipe of his sword. Undaunted, he fashioned a sturdier one from papier-mâché, trusting divine providence to protect his head. Thus clad in his precarious regalia, and armed with a worm-eaten lance and a leather shield, he now felt ready to conquer the world. Every knight requires a trusty steed, and for this, Don Quixote chose Rocinante, an old and frail horse reborn with a name as noble as a warhorse could aspire to be, a symbol of transformation from humble origins to newfound grandeur. With himself and his horse aptly titled, Don Quixote remembered that true chivalry demanded a lady to inspire and dedicate one's feats of valor. This realization led him to Aldonza Lorenzo, a local peasant whom he had never spoken to but honored as the muse of his chivalric quests. Renamed Dulcinea del Toboso, she became to him a princess in disguise, a beacon of his personal knightly code. Thus armed with armor, spirit, and a love to vow his feats upon, Don Quixote set off in the blistering heat of a July day. His transformation from a dreamer beset with romantic fiction to a knight-errant standing tall on an uncertain steed marks the beginning of a journey teetering between madness and noble pursuit. Every action henceforth rested upon the ideals he so cherished but reinterpreted through a mind steeped in fantasy. What followed was not just a series of misadventures, but the birth of a legend, forever etching Don Quixote and his quirky companion, Sancho Panza, into the annals of literary immortality. Their adventures, as whimsical as they were profound, have since graced numerous artistic forms, from pages to screens, unfurling the timeless dance between dreams and reality. The Quixotic Quest. Picture a knight in mismatched armor, skeletal and comical in appearance, yet carrying himself with a solemn dignity that belies his exterior. This is Don Quixote, an eccentric dreamer setting out on his first grand adventure. His mission begins with a practical yet whimsical step, obtaining his knighthood. Unlike typical travelers, Don Quixote sees the world through the lens of chivalric romance, transforming a dilapidated inn into a grand castle. The bemused innkeeper, sensing Don Quixote's quirky madness, obliges by conducting an impromptu knighting ceremony, complete with ledger readings and ceremonial shoulder taps. Eager for exploits, Don Quixote rides out, his heart buoyed by recent knighthood. On the road, a group of silk merchants becomes the unwitting participants in Don Quixote's imagined feat of honor. To him, they are knights and squires, and he demands they confess the unparalleled beauty of his imaginary love, Dulcinea del Toboso. Playing along, the merchants request a portrait of the lady, leading the discourse down a rabbit hole of absurdity. Refusing their request, Don Quixote insists her beauty is a universal truth, needing no proof. As tension escalates, our self-proclaimed knight charges at his imagined adversaries. Fortune, however, does not favor him, his horse, Rocinante, trips, catapulting him to the ground. Trapped by his cumbersome armor, Don Quixote can only seethe impotently at the merchants and their mule boys, who, rather than bow to his fantasy, retaliate with a harsh beating that leaves him battered and pinned. Insults fly, but the game turns serious as Don Quixote's lance shatters, and he becomes the target of pent-up frustrations. Desolate and immobile on the roadside, Don Quixote pours his soul into romantic verses celebrating bygone heroes, battling both humiliation and exhaustion until unconsciousness overtakes him. A compassionate farmer recognizes the fallen knight as none other than his neighbor, Alonso Quixote, and transports him on a donkey back to their village, marking the end of Don Quixote's inaugural venture into knight-errantry. His misadventure becomes a tale of dreams crashing against the hard reality, an embodiment of the struggle between idealism and the mundane. And thus, begins the legend of Don Quixote, where valor and folly intertwine in pursuit of impossible ideals.
In Don Quixote, Cervantes not only crafts an epic tale of chivalrous eccentricity but also provides a profound exploration of the fine line between dreams and reality. Through the amusing yet poignant tale of Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, readers gain insight into the enduring human quest for meaning and heroism amidst the mundane trappings of life. The characters' amusing escapades invite reflection on ideals of honor and truth, illustrating how perception can shape our world and personal identity. Ultimately, this story serves as both a critique and celebration of noble pursuits, urging us to find beauty and purpose even in folly. As we bid farewell to Don Quixote's legendary exploits, we're reminded of the boundless human imagination and the transformative power of literature to transcend boundaries, resonate with timeless wisdom, and inspire us to pursue our own quests, no matter how quixotic they may seem.